Hello and welcome to another stream with the breaking, most important news of the day. Tyreek George is going to Everton on loan. That is the most important news. We are going to talk about this later because I think this is actually this is a pretty interesting big picture thing. But we are here to talk Chelsea West Ham. Spurs just equalized against City, which is fun. I the more people dropping points in the mix, I'm in. I want all the dropped points from everybody. People saying we're not catching City. Yeah, I don't know, man. There are only 7 points and there's 13 games. That's a lot of games. We play them again. You never know. There's a lot of games to be had. But we are going to start today talking about Chelsea West Ham. We're going to start talking about Chelsea West Ham because a lot of weird things happened, and then we're going to talk about transfers, and then we're just going to leave the door wide open to talk about everything. I haven't streamed in I streamed post for senior one time, but just not that many streams. So we're going to do a long stream. We're going to do as long a stream as people want today. That's what we're going to do. And then people are going to get a 4-hour podcast on their Spotify tomorrow and be like, what is going on? So let's talk about Chelsea West Ham. Pretty strange game. Very much a game of two halves. First half was, I want to say one of Chelsea's worst performances this season. But I think that's actually, the more I kind of took a step back from where the game was yesterday, took a deep breath, reflected, the first half was bad, but it was just regular bad. People were freaking out to a crazy degree because of the scoreline, which is fair. But it was just regular bad. We have had much worse halves. I think the first half against Napoli was considerably worse than the first half against West Ham, which is a crazy thing to say, but I think that's the case. And then the second half was Chelsea broke the door down, created loads of good chances, scored 3 goals, win the game 3-2. It is the first ever 2-0 to 3-2 comeback that Chelsea have had in the Premier League. I think it's the first time we've done it in the league since the 70s, which is pretty crazy. But second half is totally different. So overall, you look at this and you're 14 shots to 11, that's not great. 2.7 XG, that's pretty nice. That's actually gone up since yesterday. The post-game quality adjustments from Opta have been pretty friendly there. Box touches 35 to 24. You're happy with all those things. It's fine. But I think it says, hey, chat doesn't seem to be on stream. I can see it on my screen. So I think it's there. I can see it on the broadcast. So I don't know. Can anyone else not see the chat? Because I can definitely see it. So yeah, I think broadly, the problems in this game were much more in the attack than they were in the defending side of things. And people got really mad about the defending side of things more than the attacking side of things. So let's start there, okay? So Chelsea line up: Sanchez, Gusto, Chalobah, Badiashile, Hato, Caicedo, Enzo, Fernandez, double pivot, Gittins, Garnacho's the wingers, Jalap's the 9, Palmer's the 10. I didn't mind the lineup. The only thing that made me nervous was Caicedo and Enzo starting together in a pivot with a 10, not a third midfielder, after playing an extremely physically demanding game against Napoli 68 hours or whatever before, 6-7 hours before. That made me nervous. But other than that, I had no qualms with the team. Like, this is the back four I would have chosen. I probably would have started Neto over Gittins because Neto only played a half against Napoli. But other than that, like, this is, and maybe I wouldn't have started Palmer. But like, not that different from the team I would have played. Now, from here, we all know this is going to end up in a 3. How I thought this lineup was going to look was like this. I thought it was going to be Gittins and Gusto as wingbacks, Garnacho and Palmer inside, and it was going to be like this. This is how I thought the team was going to look. And then defensively, it would drop into a 4-4-2. So like nominally, Garnacho would be the 10 defensively. And that's how you would find your shape. And I thought it would be a 3-4-3 like that. I think Rosinha really wants to get to a back 3. Like a real back 3, not even like not a Maresca like invert back 3. But I suspect he wants to get to a real back 3. And so this is how I thought this team was going to line up. You could tell me that there are like other fairly normal ways that this team lines up, right? Like Palmer could be the left 10, Garnacho's the right 10, and you end up with Gittins and Gusto as wingbacks. Same thing, right? But now this is much more 4-2-3-1. Like, that's a very reasonable way to approach the shape as well. And what we got was, I think, the least sensible version of this shape, which is that Gittins held width as a wingback on the right. Garnacho held width as a wingback on the left. Hato came high to the 10 from left back, and Gusto made the right center back thing. I think this is like a pretty big misprofiling of players. The thing that Hato does well is like be a tweener left back, left center back. Like that's the thing he does. So anytime I see Hato's going to go in midfield, I'm like, you have no idea what you're doing with this guy. He can't do that. That's not his thing. And I hate it, like with a fiery passion. So let's start there. 2, Gusto is, his best attributes are off the ball. He's a really good off-ball runner. He runs in behind. He overlaps. He counter-presses. He recovers in transition. Putting him at right center back where it's like, no, you are on the ball to begin possessions with entry passes is really bad. Really bad. And Roshan says Hato's inverting into the pivot and build-up, and then Enzo is high. Yeah, like there's times where it was like that too. And it's, I think we see this axis of Hato and Enzo Fernandez swap a lot. And I will say, somebody on the last podcast left me a comment saying, I really appreciated that you gave a flag early, that this is a very visual episode. When we got the tactics board out, like I think it's a thing that's very hard to translate in audio. So we are all tactics board to start today. But I think the Enzo Hato like axis, the left 10, left 8, left 6 thing flips back and forth a lot. So like already don't like it. Gusto can't play entry passes. That's not really the thing he does. And he can dribble, but he's not really like, you can imagine the situation where Chelsea are able to shrink a team. They play the right center back of the 3, and then Gusto can carry to start things. Gusto doesn't really do that either. You know what I mean? So unless you're playing a glacial back 3, which with Chalobah and Barichila you're not, they're both pretty good recovery defenders. There's no benefit to what you're getting here. Then you get to the point of Garnacho. The worst version of Garnacho is stuck on the touchline doing nothing. Like that's the thing that I'm like, are we just gonna, like, you're gonna stay on the sideline and then you're gonna like maybe get us 10 yards up the field, and then also you have like defensive responsibility to track, which is like not the thing you're good at. Whereas like you're pretty good at the like the like pressing people defending from left wing, but you're not tracking people. That's not the thing Garnacho does well. And you just have all these players that like, man, this doesn't make any sense. And then on top of that, like, if you want an example of how stupid the first half was, like, Chelsea turned the ball over so much for nothing in the first half. So, like, you have a weird misprofiling of players, and then you have everybody played poorly. Like, Garnacho's my guy. Garnacho had 15 turnovers in one half. That is really bad. Like 6 on passes, 4 crosses that go to nobody. Like, I don't know how they came to 15. That's what I saw in the broadcast was 15. I don't quite see 15 here, but it felt like 100. He was terrible. Gittins goes off injured early. Didn't do much. Palmer doesn't touch the ball at all in the first half. Caicedo, giveaway after giveaway. Enzo Fernandez, I thought was really bad. The whole left side really, really struggled. And it's just a terrible performance through and through. Like, no doubts about anything. And so we start there. And everything that could go wrong goes wrong. You look at the goals that Chelsea concede. People are freaking out about the first goal, and they're like, wow, like, Garnacho loses Bowen, and Badiashile is not marking Castellanos in the box, and, like, whatever. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's a cross from a not super dangerous position. Chelsea are +2 in the box. And it, like, perfectly evades every single person to bounce exactly seeing eyeball, like, into the corner. Exactly perfectly. I am not worried about that super long term. That's a thing that's just going to happen. It's like when Zappacosta scored that crazy cross against Karabag. Like, that's not whatever. It happens. Then you have the second goal. The second goal is, like, actually a structural problem. So if we go to the tactics board, what happens on the second goal? West Ham played a 4-4-2, like a legit straight up 4-4-2. Okay. They played bona fide 4-4-2, Castellanos and I think his name's Pablo, the Brazilian guy up front. Let me check to make sure I'm not waffling on their names. Together, Souček, Mateus Fernandes. Mateus Fernandes is, like, nifty. Bowen on one side, Somerville on the other. Wan-Bissaka and Diouf, and then Mavropanos and Todibo. Legit 4-4-2. And the thing that West Ham got some joy from is that because Chelsea are so matchy, I just got a text saying, wow, Xavi, and now I'm wondering if Spurs won are up 3-2. No, he probably did something bad. Somebody tell me why someone said, wow, Xavi. But that's funny. He created a good cutback. Cool. Good to know. So the problem with this is that Chelsea go very, very matchy, right? But when you're going, like, 3-4-3-ish into 4-2-3-1-ish to defend, it can be kind of awkward for a couple of players, particularly when what West Ham did is they would really, really, really pin with 4 guys, and then they would bring one more. So you would end up in these situations where you would have like Somerville wide one side, you'd have Bowen wide the other side. So now the back 4 are, like, super pinned. You would have Palmer high on one side to engage. You would have Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez to jump out. And now you have the front 3 are trying to manage 4. The problem with this is that Wan-Bissaka goes here, and this player pulls Caicedo out of the space. And now you have Garnacho has this like almost impossible thing where like I don't know how he's supposed to do this guy and do this guy at the same time. Like it's simply not really possible when you think about it. And so what happens is I can show you the thing because I got a million people got really mad about it. Let me find I tweeted it. Where did I? Like this is the moment, right? So you have Neto has come for Gittins going out to the left back. You have Palmer center back. You have Delap going ball. This is actually, I think it's Fernandez who's dropped here. I can't tell. 15. No, it's Mavropanos. But somebody has dropped low, has rotated low for them here. And you now have this situation where like Caicedo's marking nobody. Enzo's jumping. Garnacho has to engage because Delap doesn't take a great angle. And so now you're like, well, I don't know. How do I manage both of these things? And as soon as this pass gets played over his head, I think this is Fernandez on the ball, and that's Todibo over there. As soon as this ball gets played over his head to Bowen, you now have the center backs are pinned. You have Wan-Bissaka is behind Garnacho with like a 15-yard head start because there's 25 yards between these players. And Garnacho can't get there. And of course he can't get there. They play the slip. Slip comes, cut back, goal for Somerville. That is a structural problem that people interpreted as a individual problem. Garnacho is lazy, did not track Wan-Bissaka. It's not possible. If you compare this to the Napoli goal, where I want to look, I think his name's Fod. This guy. He showed some stuff. Where did he show it? I gotta find the actual tweet though. Like he compared this to the Napoli one, right? And you compare this to the Napoli one, and it's just so different. Let me see if I can find the exact ones. Let me see. Let me see it. I don't want to get it wrong. Yeah, so like here, if you compare to the Napoli one, compare this to Estevao, right? Estevao is level. Estevao takes a bad angle, right? If you compare this exact same situation, Estevao takes a bad angle to the ball carrier because the way you handle this is you do a handoff. So in this situation, it would be something like Garnacho comes here and then Hato manages the slip. Like that's what that would look like. But the distances here are too big for you to do that. It's not the same situation as this one. Whereas, like, if he shows, I'm sure he has the Garnacho one in there. I'm sure he has the Garnacho one. Like, the distance here is huge. Like, there's no way where he can get there, right? So I will say, and again, for transparency and clarity of my transparency and clarity of my position, Garnacho was horrible. I just don't think he's at fault for either goal, is my point. Like, this is a structural thing. That was a problem. So that's the first half. I don't know what happened there. So that's the first half. Big problem. Terrible, terrible half. What do we do to change it? At halftime, we get a triple sub. Wesley Fofana comes on for Badiashile. I thought that was somewhat harsh. I thought Badiashile was fine. I don't think he was good, but I thought he was whatever. Roshan says the backline doesn't shift over. Badiashile should slide, and then Chalobah should slide. Totally agree, right? Badiashile should come into the channel, and Chalobah should get there. And Bad Rabbit says, my only criticism of Garnacho on that play is that he's not making much effort to get back to close down the distance to make a handoff. I think it's fair to say like he could close the distance more, but I think 10 yards is many more yards than we think it is to make up. And like Wan-Bissaka's faster than him. I don't know if he's got him like that. And so Badiashile goes off for Fofana. I thought Badiashile had like a not great game, but I don't think he was a disaster. Hato goes off for Cucurella, who like fine, and Garnacho goes off for João Pedro. Garnacho's terrible, no problem with it. In the second half, we see Chelsea go a very, very, very different structure in the second half. In the second half, so Cucurella comes for Hato. Garnacho is now João Pedro. Palmer's there. Gittins, you became Neto somewhere along the way. And Badiashile is now Fofana. Cool. So what does this look like instead in the second half? In the second half, Chelsea effectively just straight up play a 4-4-2. Palmer plays the right. Neto plays the left. João Pedro is totally free to roam and do whatever he wants, wherever he wants, and attack the box however he wants. And we see Chelsea play significantly better, mostly by being significantly more risk tolerant. So if you look at things like if we look at like first half versus second half, 90% pass completion, 70-30 possession wise. They connect on 1 of 12 crosses. In the second half, 72, 88% possession, pass completion. So lower pass completion rate despite higher possession. And they complete 5 of 25 crosses. So they hit twice as many crosses. They play more long balls. Like what does this have here? 23 of like 30 long balls. And in the first half, 7 of 16. So much more direct, much more let's get numbers in the box and manage. And what you end up seeing is something that looks like sometimes Neto wide, Cucurella inside, a back three almost of Fofana, Caicedo, Chalobah, Palmer inside, and then Enzo kind of being the link guy between everything. So you end up with something that looks like a 3-1-6 in the final third, but it's much more, we're not going to compress them. We're going to go direct. We're going to get into the final third, and then we're just going to load guys into the box. And you look when Chelsea have the ball in wide areas, very frequently, it's Delap, it's João Pedro, it's Palmer, it's Cucurella. At minimum 4 guys. At minimum 4 guys. Every time the ball goes wide. And so you end up with just a tremendous amount of box pressure. And if you look at the first goal, like the Fofana goal, if I scroll up, because here's the video of it here. Right? Like when Fofana arrives, you have 2 players occupying, you have a 3rd player arriving, you have a 4th player here, and he just plays a peach of a pass. But it starts because you have the extra box pressure of everybody there. Right? You already start from a better location. And then when you get to the second goal, it's the same deal where you have Gusto in the box, you have Pedro in the box, you have Cucurella in the box, you have Neto in the box, I think Neto delivers, you have Delap in the box. And purely by virtue of like, let's get more dudes in the box and let's put pressure on their center backs and fullbacks and goalkeeper to make plays, you end up creating a whole bunch of value in the second half. Now, I think like some of this is being double counted. Like, I'm not sure Delap actually even gets a shot on the Cucurella goal. And like, you definitely can't double count those as 1.4 XG total. Like, that's a thing you shouldn't do. So with appropriate rebound scaling, this is going to be a lower number. But it was much better. So much better. And then even the goal is like, if you or the goal that wins it, if you think about it, it's like Caicedo receives inside, João Pedro makes a slip run, Delap makes the hard run across the near post, Enzo arrives late, there's another player at the back post. Like, again, just getting numbers in the box repeatedly over and over and over again gets you into a pretty good situation of generating dangerous attacks. Now, the question is, long term, what does that mean, right? Like, the points are really good. It's the second game in a row that Chelsea have been really bad in the first half and really good in the second half. Roshan also points out Nuno helped by sitting deep and allowing pressure in the second half. Yeah, Chelsea scored, and then Wolves immediately went back 5, and it got much easier for Chelsea to ratchet up the pressure and keep them in their third. And even then, the funniest part of this is like, Chelsea win 3-2, and we're all like super chuffed. Todibo misses a genuine sitter in the 86th minute. He can score that and win the game, and it's like curtains. Everybody's going mental, and he doesn't. So it doesn't matter. So you start there, and you look at, okay, first half, second half, what does this mean long term? So one, I think, very clear positive of Rosinier's tenure compared to Maresca so far. Much more proactive with the subs. Much more proactive with the subs. Like, we get a triple sub at halftime of this game. I just don't think that's something Maresca's doing. I think he would have given it 10, 15 minutes and said, I don't know. And then there's no momentum. And like, I don't think Chelsea were even particularly good from like the first 15 minutes of the second half, that it really mattered that much. City Tottenham 2-2. Not bad. I'll take that. Not bad. So you start there and you're like, okay, sure. I think the people are going to overreact to the rotation thing. I think there are some legitimate takeaways. Like, you probably can't change too many guys at one time. I think there's like a weird mental thing for this team that like you have to always play. You have to always play like 3 of the main back 4. Like, you can get away with one guy. You can get away with the one guy. But I think it's difficult when you're changing like 6, 7 guys. I think that's hard. And Bad Rabbit says, I wonder if Maresca's hesitance to change the plan was because his initial plans were fairly good. And I think that's true. I think Maresca's match plans were generally pretty good. Rosinier's match plans have been considerably worse to start matches, but I think his ability to recognize problems and adjust has been pretty good. The problem with this is, like, eventually you're going to play teams that, like, the game is done and it's over and you have no chance to come back. Like, I am fairly worried about this Arsenal match because Kai Havertz is now fit for Arsenal, and I would bet a decent amount of money they do their 4-2-3-1 thing, play Havertz as a 10, and they load him as a second striker, and that's a real problem depending how Chelsea want to play. So I think positive that he's making subs early, negative that the match plans have been so bad and he has to adjust so drastically out of it. I think people are indexing those things probably too severely in one direction or the other. Like, he gets some credit for fixing his initial disaster, but the initial disaster is a problem. the initial disaster is definitely a problem. And I think now we've seen a couple times, like, at least under him, Chelsea have looked better when the match plans are simplified. Like when he gets real strange with the man-to-man things, and like we're gonna do some weird stuff and some weird rotations and player like that stuff. I think he doesn't has not looked good. Even Palace, the first half, where he's like, "Yeah, we're doing semi-4, semi-5 with Andre in between," like that looked bad. And then after that, it got better, but it was not. It was not good. It was not good for the first 25 minutes when it was like the weird shape thing. So just stop doing weird things, and I think you'll be fine. Um, what else? What else do I have to say about that game? I thought all of the wingers were bad. That's not the game I wanted. I thought all of the wingers were bad. Neto, Garnacho, Gittins. I thought all of them were bad. One of the things that I thought was particularly interesting with João Pedro is I think we have seen pretty clearly that if you play him as a 10, it is disruptive. It is disruptive if you play him as the 10. Like he doesn't quite work when you play him there. But you really do want to get to the situation of him being the second guy in the box. And something I'd like to see, I don't think it's something we'll see regularly, but something I'd like to see is like, can we play João Pedro as the left winger? And can we do like this? So like, let's say it's a midfield 3 and he plays as the left winger, and then your way for him to get in the box is like this, and it's Andre shuttling wide to help the left back. Is that a thing that we can do? We can see. Because I think there's something there to João Pedro, second guy in the box. And when João Pedro is like, that guy is absolutely barbecuing lately. Like you look at his last couple matches, goal and assist, 2 goals, goal, nothing, goal in his last 5 matches. So 4 goals, 1 assist, 5 goals, 1 assist his last 5 games. And then you look at like, I bet if I look at like the actual performances on from an X standpoint. Yeah, okay. So Brentford not less so. Little bit of a snipey snipe. Palace, he put up pretty big numbers in that game. Yeah, like 0.66 XG plus XA. You're pretty happy with that. Napoli, less so, but he snipes. Actually, no, he still put up like almost a full XG in that game. And then in this game, he puts up pretty big numbers again. Josh Foreman, Kieran's greatest enemies, remembering squad numbers. I messed up somebody there for sure. But yeah, I'm really bad with squad numbers. So that I think is one thing that is particularly interesting to me moving forward. I think the other thing, Obidi says Delap has looked way better. I agree that Delap has looked significantly better under Rossignol than he did under Maresca. I'm not like into it particularly, but he has looked better. One of the things that I liked, and again, I'm just going to go back to Fod's Twitter because he keeps pointing it out. Delap made more movements that I enjoyed. Like, there's a near post run here for Cucurella. He crashes the near post on the cutback for the winner. I just need him to, and like gets into the 6-yard box for the equalizer. Like, I just need him to shut up and don't touch the ball and get into the 6-yard box. Like, just don't do this hold up bouncy link play thing, because you're actually not good at it at a Premier League level. And that's okay. Like, in the Championship, maybe. But at a Premier League level, he's not going to roll center backs and get you accelerating. Fofana is 29. Did he ever wear 33? I'm convinced Wesley Fofana wore 33. He wore 3 at Leicester. He did wear 33. I was right. He did wear 33 previously. Not having this. Yeah, I just need him to like don't touch the ball and just run into the 6-yard box and smash center backs. And if you get the ball within, like, if Delap, here's what we're gonna do. If Delap gets the ball within here, within that space, I just want him to shoot. I want him to do nothing else. Within like slightly wider than the 6 and inside 18 yards, 20 yards. I just want him to shoot. I don't want him to do anything else. I don't want him to touch the ball anywhere outside of here. Like, whatever, if you have to link and hold up and win fouls and flick on. But I just want you to get here and do nothing else. That's my main Delap thing. And he's getting more shots. Like, the shot volume stuff is legitimately increasing over the last couple games. Like, let's see. Let's see. West Ham, 1, 2, 3, 4 shots. Fulham, 3, 4 shots. City, 2 shots as a sub. Like, more shots. Just more shots, more wrestling jimmies. Like, this is not a great shot map by location. Just, I need more in here. I need more in the 6. I need more inside the penalty area. So, we'll see. This is funny, actually. Like, there's worse. That's actually not terrible. So, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Who else? Who else do I want to talk about from that game? Enzo Fernandez, lovely goal to win it. I thought Chalobah was very good. I thought Sanchez had a good game, couple good saves. Maybe could have done better with the second goal. He gets like a pretty decent hand to it. And Wesley Fofana, I thought was very good. If I was to do, I think I'm gonna start doing this. I'm gonna do like a 3 stars of the game, like I'm a hockey guy. If I was to do 3 stars of the game, and the Stephen Naismith opponent award, which is like this is what we're gonna do. 3 stars and Stephen Naismith opponent award, which is like the random opponent who is not a star player, but gave us a super hard time. And the 3 stars, first star, best Chelsea player, I think has to be João Pedro. He gets the goal and the assist, comes on, totally changed the game. I think the second star is probably Enzo because he gets the winner. But I don't think he was like that good. Like, this is not a great Chelsea performance through and through. And then the third star I think is Chalobah, who I thought probably Fofana actually. Fofana I think was very good in the second half. And then the Stephen Naismith opponent award for most annoying opponent was Tati Castellanos, because that guy just runs and chases and is such an asshole to play against. I hate him with a fiery passion. He was so good in MLS. And he's very annoying to play against. So that was my Stephen Naismith opponent award. Roshan says Fofana Cross is crazy. He's never doing that again. Yeah, he broke out a De Bruyne banana ball. Bad Rabbit says, have we had a stream since FBref died? We have not, and we can talk about it. We can talk about whatever we want now. I have some transfer things I want to talk about, like Tyreek George and the Sar and Selmino rotation thingy. that we'll talk about, but we can talk about whatever we want. AG Medley says Enzo and Moy were poor in the first half, excellent in the second half. I totally agree with that. Shirley AP says Shirley Naismith award goes to Wan-Bissaka to assist in a match for the first time in his career. That's a very fair option. Yeah, probably Wan-Bissaka. That is fair. But he does. I feel like he does play well against Chelsea a lot. So maybe that he is like the right pick in the spirit of the award. Yeah, I'm gonna re-pick Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Yeah. Dominic Mom says, have you answered any questions on what's going wrong with Coventry? How have their performances slipped so much? So I think this is a pretty fun question. So if you look at Coventry's recent results, they lose to QPR in like a kind of deserved XG loss. They lose 2-1 to Norwich in a probably unfortunate XG loss. But like these are all like within the realms. They beat Millwall deservingly. They beat Leicester, I think, deservingly, if I recall correctly. Yeah. But there's just like a lot more downside in their performances. And what I will say is like, so when we think about variance, right? We think about if a team who is a +1 XGD per game team, right? So they, on average, will win every game by 1 expected goal. And there is variance around the finishing of that +1 XGD, right? Like if every game is 2-1 on XG, you will win some percentage of those games by 1 goal, some percentage by 2 goals. You'll draw some, you'll lose some by 1, you'll lose some by 2. And there's a distribution of those results, right? Like there's a fun tool, Danny Page, who is like a OG guy. Let me find like who's a good example here. Like if I do this, right? So if I do 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2. So one team has 1 XG entirely of 20% chances, and the other team has 2 XG entirely of 20% chances, right? I messed up somewhere. I think I missed a 0.2, or I added a 0.2. No, I added 1 too many. 1, 2, 3. I added 1 too many for both. This is a farce. So, like, you'll win 1/E percentage of the time, because that's how math works. And then you'll draw 20%, you'll lose. So there's a distribution of those results, right? But when we think about a Patrick Schick fan says, I used that page to calculate the Como game today, 99.44% win probability for Como. Como put up, for those unaware, like 5 XG against Atalanta and drew 0-0, like all-time shithouse result. Yeah, that's unfortunate. But so if you put up a 1 XG difference, there is some distribution of outcomes from those chances, right? But the other part of variance is the variance in the performances. So like if you are a team who is a 1 XGD team, you don't win all 38 games by 1 XGD. You might win some of them by 2, and some of them are 0, and some of them you lose by 1 XGD. I think the thing with Coventry is much more in the second column. And the third part of this is, let's say there is a team whose true ability, like if we think that every team on the planet has a true ability based on the talent and the coach and perfect conditions and fitness and everything, if a team, their true ability is plus 1 XGD, there is variance around that number between their schedule, their fitness, their home life, their travel, the weather, their whatever's going on in there. Like, all of those things give you variance around that number. And then you have a variance of performance around that. And then you have a variance of finishing around that. That you end up with, like, there's a reason why football is extremely hard to predict. And it's extremely unpredictable. And so when I think about Coventry, I think the thing that I think is real is it is genuinely true that their numbers in the first half of the season were exceptional. I suspect that those numbers were somewhat better than their actual level as a team. Like, it was unlikely that they would continue to perform at that rate. I watched them against Charlton and was deeply unimpressed with that performance. I will say their team is fairly small and they have a very small wage bill. So if you look, like, they're not by minutes, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They have 13 guys over 1,000 minutes so far. That's just not that many guys. It's really hard to run a championship season like that when you have guys who are playing 90% of the minutes. It's really, really hard. And so there's probably some fatigue things. There's probably some bad luck things. There's probably some, like, genuine regression to their true talent level. Fortunately for them, they have probably built up enough of a points lead that they won't get caught. But, like, the gap between them and second was 10 points and now it's 0. And the gap between them and the playoffs was like 15 and now it's 5. So you never know. I will say it is very funny watching a number of people who were like, Muraskov nearly bottled the second half of the championship season, blah, 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 blah. Look at Lampard. And it's like, well, no, it's just the championship's long. It's very hard to do. So I think that's pretty funny. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see on that front. Castellanos, an NYCFC legend, absolutely. Lampard's approach always was cause enough chaos and let God sort it out, which I think is very true. India Kitchen says, I want to talk about Yildiz. He says, it feels like last year he was having a ball go in season, and this year he's having the metrics catch up. Let's see. Why is my clock bot seeing so slow? Come on. I guess this is actually a good place to talk about the FBref thing, and I will talk about Yildiz afterwards in the kitchen. So, for those who are unaware, FBref no longer has advanced data. The statement that FBref put out was something like, it was a while ago now, so I'm not gonna be able to find it. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, it's gonna be, actually, they might have just tweeted it in media. No, they didn't. Where's Sean Foreman at? Sean Foreman is the guy who did that. All right, I can't find it. Anyways, the point being, FBref removed all their advanced data. Their reasoning is that Opta, who was their supplier, and if you recall, we're going to go deep into analytics history hour. When FBref first released advanced data, they were using StatsBomb data. And they had the choice of very good StatsBomb data but only a few leagues, or Opta data, but 15 leagues. So or I think it was 14 leagues, all of the top 14 leagues by league strength. Or it was top 5 only. I think it might have even been Premier League only. I think top 5 only of StatsBomb. And they said, "Hey, we want the more leagues," which I think for them, correct call. So they go with Opta. Last week or 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago now, Opta say, "No, Bad Rabbit says links don't show up in chat. If you tweet it to me, Bad Rabbits, or Instagram it to me, it's on the FBref site. It's on the FBref site. I don't want to mess up. I don't want to. Where do I find it? Here we go. Please see the message right at the top. I should read. So they say, at Sports Reference, we've taken great pride in the role FBref has played over the last 7 years. Unfortunately, last week, the provider of our advanced soccer data, who is Opta, sent us a letter terminating our access to their data feeds and requiring the deletion of their data from the site immediately. As a result, we have removed their data from FBref and StatHead. The data provider has asserted that our use of the data violated our agreement. Their demand came unexpectedly despite our longstanding and good faith operation. We've operated the sites in a consistent manner from the creation through today. We've always welcomed open, frank discussions about how the site operates. Any effort to retain this advanced data would have been costly and uncertain. Under the circumstances, we have decided to comply with the termination notice. This creates a significant gap in the stats offered. We're especially upset by the massive step back this creates in women's soccer data, which is now basically non-existent. We will take time to assess possible paths forward. We still have all the historic data and the basic data, and we will see. So I will say a couple things. One, the guys at Sports Reference and FBref and Basketball Reference and Baseball Reference, all those guys, tremendously high character individuals. And speaking personally as myself, the idea that they broke an agreement is frankly farcical, considering that nothing has changed about their way they share their advanced data for 4 years. And only now they're like, oh, whoa, hold on there. I think that's bullshit. And I think it's extremely unlikely. What I will say is that very shortly after, Opta agreement FIFA, is that very shortly after, Stats Perform, who is the parent brand of Opta, became the official supplier of betting data and live stream FIFA data to FIFA. What I will say to you is that the gambling markets, particularly in the US, since the legalization of gambling here, are not tremendously sharp because there's a lot of volume from people betting on their phones. And there are a lot of people who, with even a basic understanding, with an even basic understanding of like XG, you can go and be like a reasonably successful bettor all the time. Like if you understand how XG works and you look at the lineups, you can bet and lose no money over a year. I'm very confident that most people in this chat who like understand how the math works can look at the models and can look at the teams and say like, yeah, we can, like, I can figure this out and over the season lose no money. And some people will be better at it and will make money, and some people will build things with the FBref and Opta model and make lots of money. I think that the gambling companies have said, fuck you, no. And we'll pay you lots of money for this data if you give it to nobody else. And Opta have done that. Now, most annoyingly, our friend Liam Toomey, who covers Chelsea for The Athletic, has written, frankly, one of the singular most shameless articles I have ever followed, to the point that, like, I think Liam Toomey is not a particularly talented coverer of Chelsea. I don't think he knows ball that well, and that's fine. I respect that he works very hard, whatever. This is embarrassing. Like, this is getting a big fucking bucket, like just the biggest bucket you can find, and going down to the river and filling up your bucket and then walking and just carrying it, just carrying water everywhere because somebody asked you to. And all he says basically is that they beat whatever, they broke their agreement, and Stats Perform says they broke their contract, and nobody is going to say why, but it's very obvious why. And then they're like, oh, well, it has anything to do with the gambling. Does it have anything to do with the gambling? And Opta say no. And they're like, oh, yes, very clearly, that's what it is. It can't be that. So, like, just really embarrassing. Don't, like, have a backbone. Like, at least, and then the best part of this, by the way, is that Opta, by the way, for those unaware, Opta are the official data supplier for The Athletic. Opta supply all the Athletic sports data. So, like, I wonder why you would write this. Have a backbone as a human being. I understand it's your job, and somebody probably asked him to write this. But, like, grow a spine, please. And, like, I don't think my chat is like this, but, like, somebody, whatever, they clip it and send it to him. I don't care. I think he has me blocked on Twitter already anyways. So that's the whole FBref thing. And that's why now you have to use tools like McClockbot. What I will say is that yeah, I don't know. What I will say is, like, so McClockbot, the original McClockbot, was built on ingesting FBref data. Dimitri is in the process of rewriting it with all his own models. It'll be updated when it's updated. But, like, it's going to come back eventually. There are other ways to get the same data. Like, everybody is aware, you can scrape who scored. Who scored has been scrapable forever. It's a lot harder to scrape than FBref, but you can scrape who scored. And there will be a lot of tools that spring up off of the back of that. If you want American data, American Soccer Analysis is the one, which is the one that I work with. All the MLS and NWSL data is there, but it is only MLS and NWSL. There's no European data, so you can do what you will. So it is what it is. It's very unfortunate. Opta are the singular worst thing. That there's, like, a really bad thing in the data industry now where StatsBomb got bought by Huddle. Huddle is the company who owns Y-Scout. And you now have Huddle, Y-Scout, StatsBomb, and then you have Opta, and that's it. And then there's, like, Skill Corner and like some other people who generate, like, tracking data, but they're much smaller and it's much more expensive. So it's just the whole thing's a mess. Now, let me go back to the questions that you guys actually want to answer and not hear me, like, get on my soapbox about data availability. Kenan Yildiz. So India Kitchen asked very long ago. He said, what's the deal with Yildiz? He had bad data, scored lots of goals, and now he has good data and is also scoring lots of goals. If I show you, where's player comparison? If I show you Yildiz year over year, here's Yildiz this year, here's Yildiz last year. You will laugh because 2024 Juventus attacking midfielder winger, Generate comparison. So when you look at Yildiz is like the most fake it till you make it player that I can recall in a very long time. The numbers this season in blue are so much better across the board. Across the board compared to last season. The shot volume is up. The quality of the shots is up. He's creating more better shots for others. He's moving the ball into the box more. He's turning it over less, a lot less defensive work. And maybe that's part of it. But like, this is exactly what you want from a young player's development. I'll tell you this. At this number, at 70 million, I'm real curious. I'm real interested, I'll tell you that. There's something real there. At last season's number, no, I'm not even getting close to that. And that's why I said, like, I've had no interest in paying the fee that it would get for Yildiz. I suspect if I was to look at him, if we were like, transfer market's not a great projector of like the final fee, but like, if that was the number, I'd probably pay it. I would probably pay it, to be honest with you. So I don't know. We'll see. But like, yes, the metrics have improved tremendously, and now there's like, oh, he's really good. There's something there for sure. Ender Warrior says, or sorry, George Nyangaya says, fake it till you make it. Is that not just a clearly world-class talent developing? No, so like, that's a fair comment. Let me rephrase. So what I think I should say here is like, for a 20-year-old, right? The Red is a totally fine young player. Like 0.3 XG plus XA, 2 shots, like some ball progression, some defensive work, is like a good and interesting young player. But it's like, it's not huge. It's not huge, right? It's not like, I think if I go look, like, how many goals did he put up last season? Like, he put up something crazy last season, which was what sparked all the spending numbers. Like, yeah, last season he puts up 7 and 4 and 26, and like, he was actually more like a 4 and 3 in 26 guy. And like, 4 and 3 is like, well, nobody's talking about this guy for 70 million, but at 11 and 26 at 19, maybe you are. And so if you look at the progression of the underlyings, yeah, that is like a good young player getting better naturally. But this season is way better than last season. Way better than last season. So we'll see. We'll see what comes of it. I suspect he'll be in a different price bracket than Chelsea will realistically be looking at. Like, if you made me guess what happens with him, I would probably bet like Madrid bin Vinicius to Saudi and buy him, maybe. Something like that. If you made me guess. Yeah, probably something like that. I could see Arsenal spending a ton of money if they win the league and like have a good outbound window this summer, because they're pretty tight against the cap, against their squad cost ratio cap. So that's that. The other player that somebody asked about, I can't remember who, was Jeremy Jacket Potato. Let's see. I don't even know if he has 2024. He does have 2024. That's fun. So Jeremy Jacquet is an interesting prospect to me, but certainly not at the price that's being talked about. Yes, certainly not at the price that's being talked about for him. Uh, like the passing numbers are good, not great. The ball winning numbers are good, are good. Um, People are talking about like how good he is in the air. Like I don't think that. I don't know. I think that part of it is like probably overstated. I I just like I look at the data, and again, evaluating center backs is really hard on data. And then I watch the video, and I just don't quite. Let me pull up his Ren data from that season. I just can't get there for like 60 million. I just can't get there for 60 million. And when I look at like you have um you have the Fafana Colwill pairing as your go-to. I don't know. I can't quite get there. I think he's interesting, and like if the fee was 38 or something, I'd be much more interested. Um but at 60, like I think you can get better guys than him. So make of it what you will. AG Medley says, is he a better forward passer than any of our options, Bar Colwell? No, I think Anselmino is a better passer. I think Chaloba is a better passer. I think Barishile is a better passer. I think those three guys are all definitely better passer. We the King says, unrelated, but I hope you take Sabonis off our hands. We are not talking about the Raptors today because I hate the Raptors right now. Pissing me off as a team. Like Achimpong has less senior minutes, but Achimpong I think is a considerably better prospect than he is. So make of that what you will. So I'm not sold. I don't think it's a good value investment. I think he's a good and interesting prospect, but I think it's not good value. Josh Foreman says, "Wait, can we talk about Anselmino? What's going on with that?" Yeah, let's talk about that now. So the rumor, not rumor, it's happening, is that Chelsea are, well, it's not done yet, so we'll see what happens. But Anselmino has been recalled from his loan from Dortmund. I think people are probably too bullish on his time with no, not 2024, 2025, Borussia Dortmund. I think people are too bullish on Anselmino's time at Dortmund. I think he's an interesting prospect, but if you offered me a modest profit, I'd move on. Like, this is the thing. I think the dude can definitely pass. I think he for sure can 100% pass. It is like the one thing I'm extremely confident he can do is pass. Everything else, I'm like, I don't know. Like, he looks real ropey whenever he has to defend 1v1. He is so insanely injured. Like, if you like, his injury history is insane. Like, I'm just gonna like hamstring, muscle, hamstring, muscle tear. That is insane. Do you know how, like, that's so scary to me? That is so scary to me. That makes Carney Chukwuemeka look like David James. David James, I think, has the record for most consecutive matches ever played in the Premier League. And or maybe it's just most matches played overall. But like, this is so bad and very concerning. Chelsea recall him from Dortmund, where he was playing outside center back in a 3, was injured a lot. Dortmund, I will say, have a very bad track record with muscle injuries. Like, all of their guys have really bad muscle injury histories. So, like, maybe not a great environment for him. I also think I don't really often give the directors kudos. Like, I would just do no business with Dortmund. Like, I don't particularly enjoy the way they behave publicly, so I would just rather not. I would just say no, fuck you guys. I don't want to deal with this. So get rid of Dortmund. Josh Foreman says Gio Reyna online when Pulisic got injured there all the time. Like, it's a pretty common thing there. Marco Royce, super injury prone. Just questions. So Anselmino comes back on loan. There is then reporting Chelsea are trying to get Jacket Potato in January. It's very clear Chelsea want to add a center back. Why Chelsea want to add a center back in January, I don't know. Because you look at Chelsea's squad list, and unless you are moving out, Bad Rabbit says you'll never guess the actual record of consecutive games in the Premier League. I think Lampard was up there. Most games played consecutively Premier League. I think it's Lampard. Brad Friedel, the boy, 310 straight games. But Lampard has the record with outfielders. I did know that. 164. That's pretty crazy. Yeah, they don't make them like that anymore. Brad Friedel. I just closed one of the tabs that I meant to keep open. Like, if you look in terms of players who've played center back for Chelsea this season, Hato's gotten minutes, Badiashile's gotten minutes, Achempank's gotten minutes, Tosin's gotten minutes, Fofana's gotten minutes, Chaloba's gotten minutes. And you have Colwill coming back. So, like, how are you adding a center back to that group? Like, I think there's a pretty decent chance Colwill plays this season based on the World Cup happening. Maybe it's only the last 4 or 5 games, but I think there's a real chance. I don't know what you're adding a center back to this group for. Unless, and you have Axel Disasi. It sounds like Disasi's going to go. It was Milan. It's now not Milan. I would bet he goes to West Ham or something. We'll see. I'd rather Josh just play a lot of those games, a lot of those minutes. But like, you have a lot of guys there. I don't think you can keep guys. So there's like, Chelsea want to get Jacket Potato. They're not getting Jacket Potato in January. It's going to happen in the summer. Anselmino comes back. And now, initially there was a report Anselmino doesn't want to go to Strasbourg. Now Fabrizio Romano says Anselmino is going to Strasbourg. Chelsea rejected a loan bid from a Premier League team. I find that unlikely. You never know. And that Chelsea are going to bring back Mamadou Sarr. Now, if we want to talk about, well, that's tough. I don't know how to spell fucking Mamadou. We're not. This is not gonna go well. Oh, there he is. All right, I got it. I'm really bad at spelling. So we get to Chelsea are gonna recall Sarr. I am like a top tier Sarr hater. Like, I don't think he's good. I don't see it. I watch him and I don't get it. I look at the data and I don't get it. At the price of 12 million, I didn't care because I think you can sell him for 20 very easily. I presumed that Chelsea would sell him before he even played for the club. Like, I thought what would happen is he would spend another season at I thought he would spend another season at Strasbourg, and then at the end of the year, they would sell him for 22 or something like that. That's how I thought this would go. And that Chelsea would book the profit on it because they don't care if Strasbourg makes profit, but they care if Chelsea makes profit. So I was like, okay, that's really weird. He allegedly is going to come back. That's what all the French reporters are saying. So, like, you watch him, and I firmly don't get it. Maybe in the future, but right now I just don't see how he's an upgrade on any of the guys that you like. Kadar says, do you think this one's coming from Racine? Maybe. He played a lot at Strasbourg. It's possible. And someone said he's in Strasbourg's lineup today, which is surprising if he's moving. But maybe it's like play this game and then move. What time is it? Yeah, so I don't know. I just don't know. I just don't know is my thing with him. But he's like young, he's wearing an armband early, like who knows, maybe there's something more there. I will say, like, one of the things I think is a real Sarr thing is he has a very low progressive pass number, and he has pretty low defensive activity numbers. I would bet a reasonable amount of money that he's probably a better passer than this data thinks. Because I think when you have guys who are like, oh, we can I have a very, very, very high pass completion rate. Like, I don't turn the ball over. I think that is usually a choice. Like, he could be a 92% pass completion center back and hit 5 progressive passes, or go up 2 progressive passes, right? Like, he could go from 2 to 3 or something like that. I think it's very possible. I think he has a lot of physical development to do. Like, I think I would bet you in 2 years he looks a lot better statistically than this. But right now, I don't see how he's that helpful. Vinzora says you like Chalobah but don't like Sarr. I think Sarr is miles clear. Or sorry, I think Chalobah is miles clear of Sarr. Chalobah is very good. Like, he's super useful. Chelsea have been way better when he plays. AAA says, what's funny is Betty Chile's profile looks similar. I don't know what Betty Chile's profile from this season looks like. I haven't looked. But Betty Chile is an excellent passer. And is very good in the air. Like, he's a good player. They look nothing alike. That's like, yeah, I just zing passes, bro. This guy's a sniper. Totally different profile. I like Betty Chile is very good, in my opinion. Let me see, like, I wonder if I can find one when he played a lot. Let's see. Bando Baby says, your Garnacha stocks are in the bin. It's by the dip, baby. He had a terrible game. It happens. Players have terrible games. He's a young player. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. 80% in the air. I think Betty Chile is like a no-brainer good player who it might not work out for him at Chelsea for a number of reasons. Like, I think he just needs to, like, he needs to play a lot and, like, not have a lot of risk in his starting role to be, like, mentally calm. He strikes me as, like, soft mentally. But yeah, we'll see. In terms of, like, what does this mean for Josh? Somebody said, like, I think Pano said Josh is going to go in the summer. I don't think Josh is going to go. I think there's a chance. But I don't think he's going to go. I think he'll end up staying. I mean, I just put up Betty Chile's stats. They're definitely better than Sarr's. So make it that way you will. Bando Baby, what do you think about Jacket? We just talked about Jacket Potato. You can go back like 12 minutes. Sorry, I'm still super congested. I went to the wrong Nantes. I went to Nantes Women. Josh leaves for 70 million. I'd be very surprised if Josh left for 70 million. Somebody said Chelsea are linked with some, is it this guy? Tyler Tati? Let's see. Tyler Tati. Let's see. If you made me guess what will happen this summer with... Jesus Christ, these guys don't pass the ball. And some of this is like team things, right? Some of this is team style. I'm not paying money for that either. No, I'm not paying real money for that. No, stop this. But again, at 17, like if you can stay on the field in a top division at 17, you're a good player. Like that's fine. I don't really care what the stats say. So, who was it? Somebody said, what would you do with the contracts this summer? Where'd they go? Io said, what would you do with contract situations if Trev, Reese, and Cucurella? Would personally sell Cucurella this summer and renew the remaining two. My inclination is, let's see age situations and contract situations and whatever. Actually, I can do this. Go to SpotRec. SpotRec's not perfect, but let's see. Andy says Seb was gassing up Gittins. I don't think Seb was gassing up Gittins. That doesn't sound like him. So, let's see. I don't know what this value is. Was that total wages? So Cucurella has 2 more years on his deal. Why is Baba Rahman still here? Oh, Raheem Sterling got bought out. This is the other thing that came up. Raheem Sterling got bought out. So that's a thing. I suspect that he gave back 4 to 6 months of wages to make it happen. So you have, if we look at the 2027 class of expirings, Cucurella, Tosin, Trev, George, Slonina. Also, did Datro Fofana get sold yet? Oh, not yet, apparently. He was recalled from loan, but he hasn't moved yet. Oh, that's an interesting thought. Datro Fofana to Strasbourg. I would love that. I would be so into Fofana going to Strasbourg. I think Fofana's legit really good. I think Fofana is really good. So I would be so into him going to Strasbourg. DDF was sad posting on Instagram. That sounds like him. Let's see what this says. Chelsea rejected what? Al Saad's loan, but asking 10 million. They'll make their money back, which is pretty crazy. Plus the loans, they'll make profit. Okay. Expirings. Fofana will go this window, probably. Slonina, I had heard there was a lot of MLS interest in this window to bring him back. That's what I had heard, was that that Slonina had MLS interest. Not that anything was particularly close, just that there was MLS interest for this window. It seems like that's not going to happen, and he's just going to stick around. I think he played a U21 game. So we'll see what happens. I suspect he will move in the next 2 windows, probably, whether it's the summer or whatever. We will see. Tyreek George today joins Everton on loan, full wage coverage, and an option to buy. This is after Jack Grealish goes down with foot surgery for missing the rest of the season. I suspect that I'm really, really curious to see how this goes. I'm really, really, really curious to see how this goes. If you look at Tyreek George's Conference League data from last year in particular, he looks like a George. That was a stupid thing to type in. That was a dumb thing to type in, like he would come up with just George. Let's see. Attack midfielder, winger, sure. Io says, anyone know the price of the option? We don't know the price of the option. What we do know is that Chelsea agreed a £22 million deal with Fulham in the summer window. I would bet you the option is at least that much, but probably more. Because if it's an option, there's a premium for the option. So if you made me guess, it's going to be like 27. So you look at this year and you're like, well, I don't know. Not great. But he's 19. Like, being able to play a little bit when you're 19 is not bad. But if you look at last season, which I think is just going to have his league data, not his Conference League data in this. This plus the Conference League data was really fun, like really interesting to look at. And so I can totally see someone like Everton being like, we're probably safe. We can gamble on a young player here, play him a little bit. I think I'm very curious to see how it goes. I think he needs a lot of physical development still. But I'm really excited to see him play more in the league, which I think is really cool. So let's see. I'm very, very curious to see how that goes for him. If you made me guess, I would say how many league games are left in the Premier League? How many league games are left in the Premier League? Let's see. Table. 14 games. I'm going to bet he plays 7 90s and he scores 2 goals, 1 assist, and Everton don't pick up the option. That's my guess. But we'll see. I'm curious. I'm very, very curious to see. So that's another contract, 2027. Chalobah has a deal to 2027. I believe Chelsea have an option year on it. I don't know that, but I believe Chelsea have an option year on it. Actually, if I go to Chelsea squad, let's see. If I go to Chalobizi, I'm going to need to go to you in a second, Cuckoo. I'm going to need to go to you, Reece James, and I'm going to need to go to you, Chalobah. I believe the club have an option. Yeah, they do have an option. So I personally would extend Trev. The thing with Trev, right, is that he is now 26, 27, right? When's his birthday? So 27 at the end of this season. His deal takes him to 29. I personally would, so he's 27 at the end of the year. He has 2 years left that takes him to 29. You can put an option year on that to take him to 30. I would probably give him a bumper deal at like, I don't know. I would probably just use the option. I'd probably activate the option now. And not give him a new deal this summer. And then you go another year with 2 years left. And then I think the thing you can do from there is like, okay, we have 2 years left of Chaloba. He's 28. He presumably will play less next season because it will be a lot of Colwill Fofana, is my guess. And then you can, with 2 years left, say, hey, we'll give you 2 more years on top of the deal you have at $4 million a year. So you get a 60% raise on the big long deal you signed. You're here till 32, and then at 28 or and then maybe 18 months from then you look to move him on or something like that. And I think that's fine. I think you're in an okay place. The other thing that if you just pick up the option for a year, it gives you a lot of room if Josh plays more. And also, being honest with you, you've recalled Kendry, which means, and if you're going to bring back Sarr, it means you have 2 loan spots to Strasbourg. I would totally send Josh to Strasbourg to play 12 90s down the stretch, 14 90s Conference League and League. I would be super down to do that. I thought Josh should have left on loan at the beginning of the year, and then it was like, oh, actually he's going to play, and then he didn't play. I think this is a real fumble by Chelsea to not get him like 25 90s this year and see, okay, how good of a prospect is he actually? Because like he skipped a bunch of age levels where he hasn't actually played that many games, even youth football games compared to everybody else. I would really, 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 really be interested in that move. But I don't know. I don't know. Kadar says I'd give him a longer contract but decrease the wages. Trev makes so little money that like asking him to decrease his wages would be disgusting. Like there's no world where that's happening. He makes nothing. Like he makes like 60 grand a week or something like that. So no. But the point being, I would just pick up the option this year, give yourself a year to punt with 2 years left, and then figure out what you want to do. Tosin, I am trying to move this summer. I am getting off of him this summer 1,000%, no matter what I do. And then Cucurella did not add years. Also, remember that like all these are actually 2028. Like this is 2027 season. I'm definitely moving Tosin this summer. It's clear he's not good enough to play for you. He's peak aged. He'll be 29 or 28, and you have 2 years left on it. Goodbye. Get rid. And then Cucurella is like firmly in the zone of it depends what his market is. If you get good offers, like I'd probably move him. Ios says no way Tosin makes 120K a week. Because Tosin moved on a free transfer, I would bet you that's probably a correct number. And Bad Rabbit says the Cucurella pay bump is one of those things that's going to have a book written about it one day. Again, I'm just going to say very, very loudly that it is super weird that Chelsea gave him a new contract with no extra years. It makes no sense to me. They clearly did it, but it is so bizarre to me. Yeah, I would, if you could move Cucurella for a decent fee. Like, I think there is a world. Newcastle are so screwed financially. If Newcastle missed the Champions League, which they probably will, if you could move Cucurella for a decent fee, could you then go to Newcastle and say, we'll give you 50, 60 for Hall? Because I would sell my soul to do that. I would go to the devil and offer him the eternal damnation of my soul to have Lewis Hall from 23 to 29. I don't know. I don't know. I think I would bet it's unlikely they move Cucurella, and I think Cucurella is like good and useful, and like I don't think he's gonna age terribly. I don't think he's gonna age terribly, but we'll see. We'll see. I would bet if you made me guess, with Cucurella, 2 years left on his deal, they will give him a new deal for 4 years, but they will bring the wage number down. And they'll be like, part of us giving you this bumper for this year was to give you a raise. And it'll be like, I think Cucurella makes like 250 now or 225. So it'll be like 225, 225, 125, 125. That would be my guess. People saying like, would Hall come back? Yeah, Chelsea would give him a huge contract. That I think is where it would go. Would they admit they messed up? I don't know. We'll see. He signed like a 7-year contract the week before he moved to Newcastle. I think he'd be fine. Does his injury history worry you? Not really. Not really. The other player that's interesting from a contract perspective, and he's not on this list, and I don't know why he's not on this list, is Reece James, whose contract is also up at the end of 2028. I think the James contract is really, really awkward to do because he is playing the best ball he's played in quite some time. But you also have this like lingering specter of like 60, 70 missed games in 2 years. So when I think about James and what I would want to do with James, I think that the answer is you give him more years at a lower number. But I think that's pretty hard, man. Like, if I'm Reece James, I'm saying, no, I'm like one of your best players. I'm not taking less money. Like, if we're honest, how many fullbacks are better than Reece James in the world? And the answer is like, not many. I think you. I don't know. I think that's a really hard one to do, though. Because my inclination, though, with him being 26, he's 28 at the end of the deal. Like, I think at the end of this season, you give him a 6-year deal, which takes him to 32. And it's at like, to me, if you were smart, I think the best way you would do this is it's like a reasonably low base with huge escalators based on playing time. So like you say something like, okay, Reece, we're going to give you 150K base, which is not super low, but it's low. We're going to give you 150K base for 6 years. So you're going to get 4 extra years on your current deal. But if you play 25% of the games, it's 200. If you play 50% of the games, it's 250. If it's 75% of the games, it's 300. Something like that. I think that's probably how you do it. But I think that's a kind of awkward deal to do, but I think it's a deal you absolutely have to do. I think you have no choice but to do that deal. I also find it interesting that he's like just objectively by far the best player with his agency. Isn't that weird? Actually, I wonder who his actual agent is. Because I met this guy's agent. That'll be interesting. Michael Golding. How funny. He's like not playing at Leicester. He played like for their U21s the other day, which I thought was interesting. And we got like 10 million for him. Though I believe there were some tomfooleries with him in the Dewsbury Hall deal or something like that. Regardless, yeah. So in terms of like what would I do this summer contract wise, it is I'd extend James, but it would be like I'd give him 4 extra years, maybe 3 extra years, but probably 4 extra years, maybe 3 plus an option, something like that. And I would try to reshape the contract into more appearance bonuses than base wages. And then Cucurella, I would explore my options. But if you can't move Cucurella this summer, I would do bumpers. Like I would give him another year or another 2 years. And Tosin, I would move, and Chalobah, I'd pick up the option but not extend yet, because I think you have some room there. George, even if Everton don't pick him up, you're probably still moving him this summer. Slanina, you're moving him this summer. Fofana, you're moving this summer. And then you have the other guys, like Colwill will have 3 years left on his deal. I think you could be really cute about like, oh, Colwill's coming back from the ACL. Could we get a cut price extension now? Disassi, whatever, you're moving on from. Josh, I think you really want to do an extension this summer, but you have 3 years, so it's not urgent. Badiashile, I suspect they'll consider moving this summer. Sanchez, you're good. Gusto, you're good. Lavia, you're good. Like nobody else is in contract realm. So we'll see. That's what I think about contracts this summer. Fierce's thoughts on Ilman and Ndiaye. I think Ndiaye is interesting. I don't think he's quite at the level for Chelsea. Like the thing with guys like Ndiaye and guys like Semenyo scored today. And Grealish is, and like Xavi Simons, I think to an extent, is there's a lot of like dead weight or inefficiency in their game, and for Everton, right, or for the old Villa teams that Grealish played for, or for Bournemouth, that's okay because like you don't have better players, so you will accept that this player becomes higher usage and you just have like some waste in there, but like they're going to give you good enough for your team. But I think when you port this up to like Chelsea or Arsenal or City or Liverpool or whatever, it doesn't quite scale correctly. I will say, I think a thing that I am personally really bad at is figuring out how people scale from bad teams to good teams, where like Anthony Gordon has been very good for Everton. Like Anthony Gordon is what's weird is that his data is still not like god tier. Like it's good. It's good. Don't get me wrong. It's good. But it's not like, I don't know. He's not like one of the best wingers in the world, but he feels good. And I thought he would be worse than he has been at Everton. H cases, did you see that Josh might have rejected the new deal that they got offered? No, I haven't seen that. No, I haven't seen that. Kyle Lair enjoying Southampton on loan. That's fun. He's been not really playing in Holland, so that's interesting. Ademola Lookman to Atleti for 30. Let's go look at Fabrizio Romano and see what he's saying. Matt O'Reilly back to Brighton. Okay. Zinchenko to Ajax. That's a lot of wages cleared off Arsenal's books. Alisson Santos. This looks like a Photoshop of Mbappe. This guy's face looks so weird. Terry George to Everton. Brian Zaragoza. Sure. Somebody asked me earlier as well, what do I think about Jacobo Ramon? Pano has been pumping him in my DMs 88 times a week. Every week, every day I open Twitter and I have a DM from Pano that says, you got to check this guy out. Like, that's certainly a lot more like what you want this profile to look like. A lot of good passes, a lot of aerial duels. The high amount of ball wins is like a little bit alarming. Like, I don't love super high activity center backs. Pano says cap. But I'm into it. I'm much more into this than other guys. I think the main thing for next year and whatever this year for the center backs is like, you want to carry 4 legit guys. 6 shots today from center back. That's crazy. You want to carry 4 legit guys, and you want to carry 4 legit guys, and then you have Josh and Hato who can do it. And you have to be really clever about how you want to approach that, because if you assume, if we start with, like, where is this? Let me get this. So if we start with Fofana and Colwill are center back 1 and center back 2. Is Josh center back 3/4? Is Trev center back 3/4? Because I think if you keep Trev and then you keep Josh, all of a sudden you're at 4 center backs. And it's like, I think this is why I have been a proponent of, like, I would move Gusto because I think you can make decent money. I think you could make decent money moving Gusto, clean up your books a little bit, get Josh more minutes. Like, I think there's a lot of solutions there, right? So when you think about adding a center back, like, I think if you are to add a center back this summer, you are either adding a top right-footed center back. Like, this guy is CB1. Like, you are going and getting a star. You're getting Konate as a free agent. You're trying to get Upamecano. You're getting, like, tier 1 A++ center back. Upamecano, the dream. It won't happen, but the dream. Or you are getting a big upgrade, in theory, an upgrade on Badiashile. Like, the one that I look at and I'm like, oh, I think we totally fucked this is Hincapie from Dortmund, who's now at Arsenal, where I thought as the role that Hato has ended up being, I thought he was the perfect fit for that role. Because he's, like, definitely better than Hato at everything, and he can play fullback and center back much better. So I don't know. I think that was a thing that I would have done, but whatever, it doesn't happen. And A says Gusto's our only, like, flying fullback in the team. Plenty of center backs we can sell to clear the books and give space for Josh. That's a very fair question between, like, who, like, you do lose tactical flexibility if you move on from Gusto. But I ultimately think they're going to have to make decisions about consolidating some of these positions. Like, you cannot rock into next season with Fofana, Colwill, Trev, Badiashile, Disasi, Sarr, Anselmino, Tosin. Like, there's just so many guys. And, like, we have seen a couple years in a row. It's hard, man. It's hard. Ruben says, don't you also think Kenda is a left back? Yeah, I could totally see Kenda being a left back long term. So we'll see. Like, it would be fine with me. Kenda's also, I think, in London right now because his leg got exploded. But we'll see on that one. So I think you really do need to. I think you really do need to consolidate some of those. But like, we'll see. The other thing that is interesting is all the George and Yangaya says Josh also wants to be center back in the future per Ben Jacobs. Yeah, I think long term he is a center back for sure. Roshan says, I know you won't be a fan, but I think the move is going to be Chalobah instead of Gusto. Yeah, I think like moving. I think there's a lot of worlds where they move Gusto. But like, I would. Again, I mean, we went through and did this, right? Like, I would move Jorgensen and Slonina, and I would replace them with a cheap domestic backup. I would move. Well, this is gone. Sterling is gone now, so that one happened. But like, I would move Tosin, I would move Sar, I would move Anselmino, all permanently. I would move them all because I think you can make profit on a bunch of them. And then you have options with like, do you want to move Badiashile? I would have no problem with moving Badiashile. I think the other thing you can get away with for next year specifically is I think you can do Josh to Strasbourg. I think you can. I would have done it this year. You get a lot more games, blah, 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 blah. Who was Goodnight again? Goodnight is Facundo Buonanotte, who's now gone. Buonanotte is now gone. So he's gone already. So some of these things are done. Pano says, would you take Maguire on a free this summer? No, I wouldn't. I like Maguire a lot, but no. He's going to get huge wages from like Everton or something. Or like, I feel like Brentford would be really into him. But yeah. So we'll see. Muric is the homegrown backup keeper. Sure. I just picked Nathan Baxter because he's club trained. So that's what we're at. I don't think Chelsea will do anything else. Like, I don't think we're going to do a midfielder. I think that's it. I think we're going to get Sar, and I think that's all we got. Arsenal. Well, first off, sexy spreadsheet. Dude, the sexy spreadsheet is so not sexy right now. It is, like, disgustingly not sexy. It is, like, Walmart or Target. So not sexy. Yeah, not the one for me right now. Very bad in all directions. So whatever, just keep winning and I don't care. Results are fake anyways. For Arsenal, how would I play for Arsenal? Who do we have the weekend after? Wolves. So you can rotate pretty heavily. Oh, Fuzzbrain, this is all lame. We need the pastry update. Pastry update and then Arsenal. Pastry update. Yesterday I had so my bakery, I don't know how many of you are American. There's a lot of stuff going on with ICE, the Immigration Enforcement Office in the US. There's a lot of bad stuff going on, and a lot of businesses closed on Friday for like protesting this. So my local bakery closed on Friday. So Saturday I went in early. Like yesterday before the game I went in and did like a much bigger order than normal to like help them, their small business, to help them make up for the fact that they were closed on their second busiest day of the week. And so I got like 8 pastries and I just like gave them out. I just like wanted to buy them. But the 2 new ones that I got was those Supremes, so like the croissant pucks that have a filling. They did a raspberry chocolate one, which is very good. And they did a dark chocolate scone, which is a new one and is one of my favorite things they've ever made. So that's the pastry update. I did not take pictures because I never remember. But I gave the other ones out to my neighbors and stuff. And I bought a big loaf of bread. And left a nice tip for all the people who didn't get to work on Friday. But so that slapped. That's the pastry update. Arsenal. I suspect we will go midfield 3. I think it's hilarious. Imagine Kier getting nabbed by ice mid-bite on a maple cream croissant. That is funny. So last time he went a very lightweight midfield 2, João Pedro 10. And I think that was like really bad. Like really, like it clearly did not work. I think it was funny. I think that is a funny thing to imagine. Well, not for me, but it is funny. I think we will see a legit, like, actual midfield 3. I think he will go, like, very big game Maresca here. And if you made me guess, it will be Sanchez, Cucurella, Chalobah, Fofana. I don't think he'll go Josh. I think he'll go James at right back. And I think he will go Enzo, Caicedo, Santos midfield 3. NFS9 says you're doing a Q&A session after stream. Hit the questions now. I'm going to go for another like half an hour here. Yeah, I have some other stuff to do today. So like another half an hour. So get your questions in now. But I think it'll be Moises Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, Andre Santos, proper midfield 3. Somebody said I can't see Palmer going back to back. I can't see Palmer going back to back, and I can't see Estevao went back to Brazil for a family thing. I assume he had a family member pass away, unfortunately. We don't know if he'll be back for Arsenal. I would probably bet against it if he wasn't there for Saturday, but maybe not. So I would say if he's there, he'll start. Palmer comes off the bench. But I think he'll probably risk it and just take Palmer off at 60. So I would probably guess it's Neto, Palmer, wingers, and then JP starts as the 9. That would be my guess. We might see like JP as a winger, the lap 9. I think you could see that. I think we could see Josh right back and see James in midfield for one of Enzo or Caicedo. We could see Gusto right back and James for one of Enzo, Caicedo. But my guess is it's going to be a real midfield 3. If you made me pick one, it'll be Cucurella, Chalobah, Fofana, James, Enzo, Caicedo, Santos, Neto, Palmer, João Pedro. If you made me guess, like, locked in, that's what I would go with. For Arsenal, I don't think we'll do it. I think we'll draw and we won't advance, if you made me guess. But we'll see. We'll see. Can we please send Pedro Netanyahu to Saudi in the next 24 hours? In the summer, brother. Inshallah. That'll be fun. Strasbourg are playing right now. Bad Rabbit says, because Arasaka said Yan Diomande or Barcola. And then Bad Rabbit says, you can't ask about Barcola because it's always Barcola unless it's Doku, which is true. A couple of people asked about Barco. They're like, what do you think? Do you think Barco's good enough for Chelsea? I think Barco is really funky, and I don't know what to do with him because he's good, man. Like he is rigid. He is rigid. He is really good. But he's very weird. He's very weird in a way that, like, I don't... So, like, people talk about the PSG midfield, right? Which is João Neves, Vitinha, and the other small guy that I can't remember. Fabian Ruiz, who's like not that small. And Vitinha and John Neves are small dudes, right? But they're very, very, very good. The thing that's hard though is like you watch them play big Premier League teams and they get stomped physically. Like Chelsea had a huge amount of success in the summer smashing them, like physically smashing them at the Club World Cup. I think it's very hard, man. I think it's very, very, very hard to, excuse me, to translate physically that teeny guy to the Premier League. But there's a lot to like there. And if they said, you know what, he's good enough, he's cheap enough, he's young enough that we want to take a look, fine by me. Because, like, neither Strasbourg or Chelsea can make profit on the deal. So Strasbourg buying him for 12, there is no benefit to them selling him to Chelsea for more than 12. So if he moves to Chelsea, he is moving to Chelsea for 12. And at that cost, sure, take a look. I think he's too small. I think defensively he would really struggle. I suspect like some of these crazy passing numbers would not hold up in the Premier League. Take a look. Why not? So he can carry, he can pass. He probably turns it over too much, and he wouldn't do that at Chelsea. But like, okay, I think it'd be interesting. Sultan says Datro Fofana to Strasbourg. We talked about that earlier. If that actually happened right now, that would be crazy timing. This is so funny. I love Trump, man. He's such a cool guy. Oh yeah, this is the other thing is like the women's team had a disaster today. Boga to Juve. Sure. I don't. Yeah, okay. It's weird that Boga's 29 now. That makes me feel old. Strasbourg Penn. Cool. So far, Andre's passing has not translated to the Premier League, but I wonder if that's a style thing because iTest told me it wouldn't. So we know like progressive pass numbers dropped pretty significantly from France to the Premier League. Like because there's a lot of movement between the two leagues, particularly France to the Premier League. We actually have like a good, we have a good handle on what metrics translate and what metrics don't. And we know that the passing numbers mostly don't, but the ball winning does hold up. So like pretty clearly evidenced, I think, by Andre. But I also think like Andre has been played in some pretty weird roles. I think like people are probably too down on the year he has had so far. I think he's going to be good. Strasbourg got a penalty. And he missed it. So that's good. Saved. That's unfortunate. They gave the pen and he missed it. That sucks for them. Why is Barco not playing today? Suspended. Interesting. All right. We'll see. Yeah, Barco could be, depending on the fee, could be interesting. But I think the fee would have to be logged as 12 million, which would be interesting to me. Okay. Cool. Chelsea women got smacked today. 5-1. It is the singular worst performance that I can. It's the worst performance I can ever remember in the history of watching the women's team. I think that team probably just needs to reset this summer. Just reset everything. Fire the coach. Move on from a lot of the players. French outlet just reported Datro Fofana to Strasbourg. La Marc Mechanua. Sure. Okay. I think it works. That's funny. We did say it like 20 minutes ago that that would be a deal I'd be into. So fair enough. 1-0 PSG. That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. Pano says if you want to be a small centerman in the Premier League, you got to be Conte or you just can't hang. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's quite amusing. Says, is Villa's XG voodoo over now? They've got Tammy and his XG curse. So here's a funny thing. I'm a very analytical guy. I'm also like extremely superstitious. And the last like 4 Villa games, I have bet on them to lose or to draw because I'm like they're not good. And today I was like Brentford I think are overrated, and I think Villa will win this. So I have put a bet on for Villa to win, and they have played well enough to win, and then have gotten murked on XG. I am the ultimate jinx. I'm betting on them to win every game the rest of the year. Every game the rest of the year. Guikel says reflection on Kendry failing. I tweeted a thing about this that like one Kendry played for like a really weak league. Like people really don't understand how poor the Ecuadorian league is. Like there's like Caicedo's awesome, right? Caicedo was as good as Kendry was, different, but as good as Kendry was in Ecuador, and still needed a loan year in Belgium, and then 2 Brighton seasons before he was good enough to play for Chelsea. People thought Kendry was good enough to play for Chelsea this season. Those people are insane. Now, the thing that I really disliked about how they treated Kendry is that Kendry came to the US for preseason, came to the Club World Cup, instead of going to France and like settling in France and settling in Strasbourg. Like I thought they could have handled everything about it much differently. At the same time, I will say he's clearly made some like pretty poor personal choices, like going to nightclubs underage with the national team and blah 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 blah. Like I just think they like it's fine. This is part of the risk of like you spend 12 million on a 16-year-old. Like this is part of the risk, and like it hasn't worked out. You never know. We'll see. I think Argentina is like a good step up where like culturally he'll feel a little bit more at home, but the Argentine league is a lot better than the Ecuadorian league. So like we'll see what it looks like for him. I would not be surprised if he does the 6 months on loan and then in the summer they're like, actually, we're not doing the second year. He's going to go back to Europe or whatever. We'll see. But like he's young. I was of the opinion that I would have like sold him this summer and like immediately booked the profit. Sadra Farhang says, what's the most differently translated stat when talking about players coming from other leagues, like carrying, dropping from Liga, dribbling from Bundesliga, stuff like that? Other than like when you're going from a worse league to a better league where like everything drops, the biggest one is Bundesliga dribbling. It is like calculated differently. The league is so open, it does not translate at all. Dribbling and carrying, it's just so different structurally that it like does not translate at all. Bundesliga dribbling to the Premier League, like at all. And so when like Arasaka gets real happy about Yan Diomande. Yan Diomande is his guy. Like it looks really good to me. It's very exciting. But like I'm not paying 100 million for him. There's just too much uncertainty and risk on on that number. But like, I would have way rather paid for this guy. I would have way rather paid 60 million, 65 million for this guy than for Gittins, right? Because at least there's shot and shot creation stuff there as well. So I don't know. We'll see. Kadar, I'd have thought I've seen people say Caicedo's better than Conte. I think they're insane. Want to know your thoughts? They are insane. He's like not. Caicedo's very good, but he's not Conte level. Thoughts on United? United are way better this year, and I really wish that they had not won the 3 matches in a row that they like have probably not deserved to win, because they win those 3 games, and like even the City and the Arsenal game, they deserve to win the City game. But if they were on 35 points, we look way better for Champions League. Way better. Like, I bet you if I go, let's see what we are Premier League wise. They have us at, that's the Champions League, so nice try. 40%. I bet you we'd be north of 60, something like that. Let's see. Oh, Chilwell assist, my boy. My boy, Ben Chilwell. One of the best high and wide fullbacks in the world, baby. Left wing back to right center back. Let's go. I love Strasbourg. Also, like, putting it out there, Gary O'Neill. I said, people were like, oh, this is a bad hire. It's not that bad, dude. Like, he was a decent coach. He was a decent coach who like got a raw deal with Wolves, and people are like, he sucks. And it's like, I don't know. Everybody smart was like, actually, this guy's not bad. We will see. I think the big thing with like the remaining teams is trying to figure out who. I personally think Villa, Liverpool, Chelsea, United are all viable. You're going to get 3 of those 4. One of them is going to miss out. But I think Villa are firmly like in that mix. But like the remaining strength of schedule. No, I want the remaining. I want the remaining. Like, we're in a nice stretch right now where we got to put up points, but that's not what I want. This is what I want. Like, we have a fairly hard strength of schedule because we have a very tough end of the season. So, Drew says, Kier, could City fall into it if they keep dropping points? So I can't show it because it's on FBref now, but City have gotten very fortunate with opponent goalkeeping all year. Like, they were like 10 goals better than their XG because of opponent goalkeeping, which is just total luck. So it's not impossible. I think City are good enough that they won't get dragged into it. But I think all these teams will get in. The thing with Chelsea that is ultimately going to come into it is if we look at Chelsea's schedule down the stretch. So you have like winnable, rotation game, winnable, tough, winnable, tough, winnable, tough, winnable. So it's like a very difficult stretch down. Obed Vargas is joining Atletico. No. No, he's not. Obed Vargas. Exploring. Oh, well, it's one step away. Okay, interesting. Sure. Cool. I would bet that's going to be like $11 million, $13 million. Sadra Farhang says Spurs tough love. They just drew Man City. So that's going to be, is there some Holland effect in City's number? No. So the point I want to make here is like, this is goalkeepers performing poorly, not them finishing well. It's not like they're getting more Poshadek Shi out of it. The question to me with Chelsea is like, when does the Champions League run end? Because if you look at the Champions League schedule for the knockout games, right? So let's just like figure out where all those games go, right? So that is the next round. And then you have the 9th through the 11th and the 16th through the 18th. So if we go back, so you have between Villa and Newcastle, you have a game. And then between, what did I say the other one was? 16th and 18th. And then between Newcastle Everton, you have a game. That's brutal. That makes that Newcastle game horrible. And then you have an international break. And then you come back and you play City. You play before City after an international break. Like, that's rancid. And then you play City. And then in between City United, you play the second leg. Like, it's horrible. So, like, from a qualify for the next year of Champions League, like, I want to lose immediately. I want to lose the next round. I want to play Newcastle and lose. Because you play Newcastle and lose, like, then Newcastle don't even creep into the discussion, right? Where they're 11th, but they're only like a little bit behind. So, like, whatever. But you want Liverpool deep CL run. You want Villa deep Europa League run. You want deep City run. And you want to get out of there. Like, you have no chance. At the same time, like, the whole point of this is to play these games. The whole point of this is to play PSG in the knockout round and try and win. So, like, I don't care. Like, and to be fair, like, about specifically that calendar that we just looked at, Newcastle play Karabag, so they're definitely playing in this round. They might not play in this round because they might play us. They might play Barcelona. So, like, fine. To me personally, I would personally rather play PSG. Because one, I think that would be so fun to have us versus PSG back to back. I think that would be so fun. After the summer too, like, there's so much aggro and like, I think it would be so fun. I think we'd probably lose, but I think it'd be so fun. But this is the whole point of it. And if you win, you go through. Why not? Because you could go like, yeah, you could, like, if you look at the bracket, like, you could get, like, let's say we get PSG. Like, there's a world where you could get Newcastle, very winnable. Then you get Liverpool or Spurs. You could get Spurs. Like, Spurs could get Galatasaray and then win. And then, so you get, like, Newcastle, then Spurs, and then you've got, like, Arsenal or Bayern. Like, whatever. That's the whole point of this. So, why not? If you made me bet, I would bet against us, like, having a real deep run, but why not? This is the whole point of this. So let's get real weird. Chelsea draw Arsenal, go out in the semifinal. We beat Wolves. We beat Leeds. We beat Hull. We beat Burnley. Everybody's like riding high. We've put the points on the board. We lose to Arsenal. We draw Villa. That's bad. We have to win the Villa game, and things get so frisky so quickly. You draw Newcastle, all of a sudden you're in trouble. I got to see where we end up points wise. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 14, lose again, win 17, draw 18, win 21, draw 22, win 25, win 28. That's Chelsea on 68 points, definitely making Champions League. That's what I'm saying. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there. I might do a short pod post Arsenal. We'll see. As of right now, I will be streaming next weekend, but you never know. You never know. We'll see what happens. And we'll go from there. I'm sure something crazy. The deadline closes tomorrow. I'm sure we'll do something insane between now and then because it's the Chelsea way. But we'll see how it goes, my friends. As always, enjoy the soccer. And I said this yesterday after the insanity that was that West Ham game and all the stupid stuff that happened and everything we saw. Imagine supporting anybody else. Because we are mental and it's pretty fun most of the time. So, as always, my friends, enjoy the soccer.